Good afternoon, it's your Wednesday Bulletin. My name's Kevin Graham, and as usual, on a Wednesday, I'm joined by James Mackenzie. James, what's happening, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's just good to be back on the show talking about Celtic. We've got the short straw, the midweek show, but
You've got the midweek
there's
show.
not a lot. But when the Champions League rolls around, we'll have the best show of the week, so can't complain too much.
Can't complain too much. No, it will be the best show of the week once the European nonsense starts. And I noticed the Celtic website today were actually having Champions League moments. The first one was up today, and it was Nakamura's free kick against Man United. It was up today, so I'm sure that's maybe going to be a daily feature or a weekly feature. It's quite weird not having games at this point during midweek during the season. It's been like that for the last 10 years that we've usually been involved in some sort of qualifier at this point.
Yeah, whether it be a qualifier or even the League Cup, there's usually always something. But
I'm actually quite relaxed about it. I'm actually quite enjoying the fact that we haven't got any midweek games, and we haven't got like the horror of these qualifiers and the stress and the strain of these qualifiers. I didn't miss that. I didn't miss that at all.
It's great for the nerves. No having to worry about Celtic going away over to Kazakhstan on a Thursday evening or a Tuesday evening. None of that to worry about. None of the Azerbaijan trips or just all these random countries we end up going to during the qualifiers. We're in the group stages already. No games to play.
I know.
How good does that feel?
I know, and I was reading something this morning that it was 2013 today. This day in 2013, the 17th of August 2013, that Virgil van Dijk made his debut for Celtic at Pittodrie in a 2-0 win against Aberdeen. And obviously, he went on to, well, his career's all been downhill since he left Celtic, right enough. It's big Virgil's. That's the way I look at it.
I'm only second in the Ballon d'Or.
He was only second. He would have won it if he would have stayed with us. And I mean, he would have had a couple of more league titles and maybe 1 or 2 Champions League medals. I ken Egyptian King's going to come in here and actually have a wee go at me about this, but I'm just winding you up, Egyptian King. So Virgil van Dijk made his debut in 2013, but one thing went through my head the first time when I say, he made his debut in 2014. The next thing that went through my head, and maybe this shows you the way that my brain works, the next thing that went through my head was 3 days later we got beat 2-0 in Karagandhi. We played that game on the Saturday and we got beat in Karagandhi on the Tuesday. So 4 days later we were in Karagandhi and got beat 2-0. That was the first time it went through my head. And big Virgil had a night.
What's worse? Where would you rather be, Aberdeen or Karagandhi?
I think Karagandhi's quite a nice place.
Is it?
I think it's somebody in the comments could tell me. Egyptian King, he has got Mo Salah as his avatar, says it was all good. My wee jest at Liverpool there. So we'll have a wee look back on Kilmarnock, James. Folk were worried about going to Kilmarnock. There was like the plastic pitch. We hadn't played there for a little while as well. I wasn't worried at all, basically because they didn't have Steve Clarke in the dugout. They have a guy called Derek McInnes, who's one of the most overrated coaches in Scottish football and who has proved over the last decade or so that he knows as much about football targets as a Dunlop trainer. So I wasn't that bored about going down there. I knew if we turned up, we were going to have a comfortable victory, and we did. Another factor in it was over the last couple of years, Mr. Lafferty up front for them. And he's always looked like a clubfoot cart horse, at least, but now he started playing like a clubfoot cart horse at 34-year-old, because at Hearts, let's not beat about the bush here, he actually scored a couple of crackers against us when he played for Hearts. So it was very, very good to see him looking like an utter donkey on Sunday as well. And it was just good to see us looking clinical and playing excellent football on what must have been a surface. It was like Velcro, it looked like at certain points to play. What was your thoughts on the game?
I thought it was sensational. In fact, for me, I thought a lot of people were like really worried about going to Kilmarnock, but since Steve Clark was gone, we've actually not been too bad there. I think we've won by 2 or 3 goals basically every time I've played them since Steve Clark was left. The only sort of blip was I think we drew in that sort of forbidden season one we don't talk about. But I thought it was a fairly solid performance. I was comfortably shut up by Dyson Maida's performance off the left-hand side. I was on the Abada Brigade. I was wanting him and Yakimakis to start, but I was comfortably, my mouth was shut. But on Kyle Lafferty, he got a front row view for Moritz Jens' overhead kick. I don't know if you saw his face in the photo when Jens is mid-air, he looked absolutely devastated.
Yes, it was good.
It was just a brilliant performance. It really stamped their authority on the game. We steamrolled them.
We did steamroll. I mean, we scored some cracking goals. I must admit, I never got the criticism of Maeda. I understand why he's there, but I also get that there's a certain lack of ability there. There's a certain lack of technical ability there. But I just thought he was an easy target for people. I did. Well, he's bringing something to the game. It's great that we've got Abada and that to come on, but he squared the ball well for Kyogo to put the ball in off the post. That was quite funny that he could have missed that. Actually, I actually thought he had missed when the ball hit the post. But then we've got a centre half that can score then we've got a centre half that can score overhead kicks. The big man's made a decent start, big Maurice Jens.
Yeah, I think when Starfelt is back now. I don't know if he's like full fitness, because Jens did go off with a knock there. Starfelt only really came on because Jens seemed to pick up an injury. I don't know if we've had an update on that or not. I think Jens, he's looked really impressive. I think having him and Welsh as the sort of backup options to the sort of 2 solid centre half we've already got is going to be really good for us in the future. But I think I would have Starfelt starting. I think you add Carl Starfelt into that lineup, but then you've basically got our starting 11 for the Champions League fixtures, I think.
Oh, right, I'm going to bring this up. Lads, there's already quite a few in the comments. There's 400, 300 and odds actually watching. Go and get your questions into the comments and we'll make this a bit interactive today. So anything that you want to ask me and James, just fire it in the comments. And anything sensible, I'll just clarify that. Anything sensible you want to ask me and James, put it in the comments and we'll try and answer it to the best of our ability. James will be far better than me, but I'll try and answer it anyway. So we'll bring up Kevin Mullen. Great name, Kevin. All right, lads, for Sonny Airdrie, who's your centre-backs for the weekend game? Mine would be Cameron, Carter-Vickers and Jens. Now, James, you've just said that you'd bring back Carl Starfelt. So what's your reasoning for that?
Well, I think we've just got to look back at last season, how solid Carl Starfelt was. I think fitness pending, I think it's his spot. I think he's not done anything to make us think they shouldn't be starting. I think Moritz Jens, he has been really good so far. He's thrived in the opportunities he's been given, but I think Carl Starfelt and Carter Vickers have got a really solid partnership together. You know what you're going to get from the two of them. And I think they should be the 2 players that start against Hearts. Like, every time Starfelt, apart from the sort of first game against Hearts, which it was only just in the door, but I remember, I think it was the game away at Tynecastle. I think I've referenced that game a few times in the podcast. Mm-hmm. Starfelt was absolutely rock solid, great in the air, clearing these lines. I thought he's usually been quite good against Hearts, apart from the blip right at the start. So I would put him back in.
You'd put Starfelt back in. I would, if Jens is fit, I would play Jens because he's made a decent start. I still don't think Starfelt's 100% fit. If it was just a slight knock that Jens has got, I think there's a match fitness issue with Starfelt because obviously he played the bounce game. I can't even remember who the bounce game was against. He played the bounce game, then he played half an hour. Was it half an hour, 35 minutes?
Maybe just over half
Sunday. I think for the flow of the side, Jens keeps the jersey because I think he looks more comfortable on the ball when we're going to have a look at the ball on Sunday against Hearts again. And if I can't see Ange Postecoglou changing Jens over. So I agree with Kevin Mullen.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jens start. It's not like Ange loves a bit of continuity of the team. He doesn't really like to change things too much. He sort of takes the attitude of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I wouldn't be surprised if Moritz Jens kept his place in the team.
I'm not going to be surprised either, James, but what's really good? We've now got Cameron Carter-Vickers and 3 other players that would be quite comfortable playing alongside him. And
I'm playing out to the back as well.
And I'm including Stephen Welsh in that. And that was one of the areas where I wanted improvement. And early indications to me are Jens looks like the player I wanted us to sign with regards to bringing the ball out at the back. And he looks a bit more comfortable. What I really liked about him on Sundays, well, he didn't let Lafferty away with his Lillian Gish. He actually went in for a fight with Lafferty as well, and he didn't let Lafferty bully him, and Lafferty didn't get away with his rubbish, man. And I like that. And sometimes you've seen your centre halves get bullied, and he looked like he's got that wee bit of devilment and fight about him as well.
Yeah, well, one's a striker and one's a centre half. Or only one of them wheeled away in celebration after putting the ball in the back of the net, and that was the centre back. So that says all you need to know about sort of that battle there.
Aye, definitely. Let's have a look. Paddy Laverty comes in and tells me, remember Shane Duffy made a decent start as well. I'm going to stick with my Shane Duffy view. I'm not going to change it. Shane Duffy was the right player at the wrong time. He just came to Celtic at the wrong time. He's not a bad footballer, and I think that's been proved by season he had in Brighton, and now he's moved to actually Fulham. He is a decent footballer. He just came to Celtic at the wrong time for me.
Yeah, on paper, the move looked perfect. The move should have worked out just fine. It was just an absolute disaster. I still can't explain how that move went so badly. It started off so well, but it just completely fell off the edge of a cliff.
The season ended up a completely disaster, James. So
yeah,
he was just
sort of got wrapped up in all of that.
He just got wrapped up.
Didn't help himself, but
I reckon my favourite Welshman, Aaron Ramsey, is a bigger disaster. If you're talking about massive loan signings, talking about one-dimensional sides in Europe, Brown Warrior asks, and I'm going to put this to the viewers as well. Probably the single most one-dimensional side I've seen in Europe was Karagandhi. You're right, Brown Warrior, and I noticed later on that you've said that they took the long ball game to a different level, and they did actually take the long ball game to a different level. What I actually want to ask the commenters is, who's the worst European side you've actually ever seen? The most one-dimensional and worst side I've ever seen, and they got to a European final, was Rangers in 2008. They were absolutely honking. And they managed to get to a European final. They played for penalties for the quarterfinals onwards. Absolutely a honking side. So who's the most honking side you've ever seen in Europe playing Celtic? Or even not playing Celtic. Well, Rangers did play Celtic that year, but they were honking. But I'm talking European stuff. Alan Robertson comes in. If you drop Jens, sends out a bad message, in my opinion. That's a kind of vibe that I'm going with as well, Alan. Right, if we're being over criticism, if we're being overly critical of the team, over the last 2 games, they haven't had bad games, but I don't think David Turnbull and Matt O'Reilly have influenced games in the way I would fully expect them to influence games based on their pre-season. So Aidan asks, does Turnbull slow play down? James, you can more about football tactics than me. You can answer that.
Well, when I was watching the game, Turnbull was really standing out to me. First of all, it was getting really frustrating when he was hitting the ball for so far out and just watching it fly over the bar. It was reminding me of Ryan Christie for that dreaded season. But Turnbull, he's quite a big guy. He's quite tall. He seems to have put on a bit of muscle this season as well. But for how sort of big a guy he is, he really sort of struggles with the physical part of the midfield and the sort of battling he doesn't. He didn't really seem comfortable receiving the ball on the half turn. I didn't think they just sort of seemed like he was getting bullied a bit in the middle there, Turnbull. And when you're winning 5-0 and you're getting bullied in the middle of the park, I don't know what that says. And I thought when they played up at Ross County as well, I didn't think he was particularly too impressive. He came in for a lot of sort of criticism there as well. I thought Matt O'Reilly wasn't too bad today. I didn't really see anything wrong with his performance, but I wasn't really too happy with David Turnbull's performance. But you've just got to remember, Rio Hatate is still to come back into the team. And I think Rio Hatate is going to waltz right back into that team.
I'm not going to disagree with you there. I'm actually not going to disagree with anything that you says. I did make the comment that I reckon that we had 6 first-team players. It's probably 16 first-team players. That's probably went up to 18 or 19 now because I've actually seen Moy can contribute and I've actually seen Morris Jens can actually contribute as well. I have no problem seeing David Turnbull in our midfield. I've got no problem seeing Matt O'Reilly in our midfield. I've got no problem seeing Rio Hatate in our midfield. I just think in the last 2 games, and I say this is me being overly critical and looking for something to actually put bones in, is I don't think they've influenced the game the way, especially O'Reilly. O'Reilly was flying in pre-season, and I don't think yet in the Scottish and domestically he's grabbed a game by the scruff of the neck. But we've got 3 wins out of 3 decent performances. He's doing something right. And as I say, I think we're looking for faults here. I don't think Turnbull slows the game down. I thought both midfielders got caught early doors on Sunday, mainly due to the pitch. There was a couple of times they were waiting on the ball coming to them, and the Kilmarnock hammer throwers decided to come in and take the ball off them and stuff like that. But I think once they got up to the speed of the game, they were fine. But I do agree. I do think Hatate will come back in, and I reckon it'll come back in for Turnbull.
Yeah. I thought Turnbull and O'Reilly, they were sort of maybe a bit too deep to create the sort of movement and space that you would want on that sort of pitch against a team like Kilmarnock. And it was just, we couldn't really get in at some points through the midfield. That's why having to go wide and using Taylor and Maeda, who, again, they were absolutely brilliant against Kilmarnock.
Robert Gibson. Turnbull is still a lightweight who shoots like a cross-eyed giraffe. His shooting was bad on Sunday, right enough. He had 2 attempts that I can remember in the first half, which headed towards Troon Beach. He scored quite a lot of goals for us. He's had quite a few assists. I'm not taking a lightweight. I think he's all right. I think he's got a different skill set to the other midfielders that are there. I reckon he's more box to box than Hatate and O'Reilly. I think he's got a better engine than Hatate and O'Reilly. I wouldn't say he was lightweight. He's played in Scottish football now for about 4 or 5 seasons. So no, I don't think he's I didn't think he's lightweight. Robert, what do you think, James?
I thought he was sort of getting, as I said earlier, I thought he was getting out-muscled quite a lot. He's quite a tall guy, so you would really expect it from just on the engine thing you were saying. I think, do you think he's got a better engine than Rio Hatate in that midfield?
Yeah, different type of player. I think Turnbull has, the main difference between Turnbull and Hatate is I reckon Turnbull can break the lines better, timing runs into the box. Hatate is great at the edge of the box, whereas Turnbull can actually get beyond the striker at a certain time. But that was the way that he played at Motherwell. So Hatate's obviously played differently, but I think Turnbull's better at breaking into the box. I do.
I'd agree with you there.
He's got a more Petrov type style breaking into the box, and I think he's got a better engine going back. Passing wise, I think Hatate's better that way. Matt O'Reilly's the better close control. I think there's a great mix and match, whatever 2 that you're going to play alongside Callum McGregor.
Yeah, well, you've just got to look at Turnbull. His goal sort of stats are always in sort of double figures usually, and that's because the positions he gets himself in the box. So you're bang on there.
Definitely. I'm going to bring up this one with Stevie Boy. Thanks for coming in, Stevie Boy. That goalkeeper. I think he's talking about the PSV goalkeeper here. I think he is talking about the PSV goalkeeper.
I'm a shocker as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was them they were talking about.
But what I'm going to bring up is Did you see the Kilmarnock goalkeeper there, James?
Aye.
Do you see the Kilmarnock goalkeeper got in Sky Sports Team of the Week?
Jesus Christ. Joe Hart at the opposite end of the park kept a clean sheet, and one of them conceded 5, including basically a 30-yarder. And he conceded 2 over kicks, which one of them went through his legs. That's going to be like photoshopped or fake or something. That can't be real.
It was on Twitter. Nobody lies on Twitter, do they? Nobody makes stuff up on Twitter.
That is
surely
from Scottish football, which we'll get to a bit later on, maybe.
There was 4 Rangers players in it. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. 4 Rangers players in the Kilmarnock goalie, and their team of the week that I actually seen. So it tells you all that you need to know.
Greg Taylor in it?
Greg Taylor was in it. Yes, Greg Taylor was in it.
Got one right.
Andrew comes in. Starfelt better defensively. I think Starfelt, on the evidence that we've got, James has proved that he's better defensively. But again, we've got a bigger sample size. See, I do listen to Alan Morrison when he talks about sample sizes. So we've got a bigger sample size with Starfelt to say that he is a better defensively at this moment in time than Jens. I think that's right. Regarding European teams, somebody's going to trigger me. Lubo Maestro, Rapid Vienna. You're quite right. Rapid Vienna are an absolute filthy abomination of a football club from top to bottom. Stevie boy, you'll remember this, James. Chelsea defending 1-0 against Barcelona. Remember, Chelsea went to the new camp, and I think they scored in the last minute. Fernando Torres scored in the last minute.
That game was an absolute disaster. I remember. Do you remember Ramirez, that Brazilian centre mid? He scored a chip for like outside the box in that game. I'm pretty sure as well. Stevie
boy, I would raise that and go Jose Mourinho's Inter Milan treble winning team.
He's an absolute cult hero of that team.
Aye, I would raise you Chelsea, and I would raise Chelsea by Inter Milan with that one there. Let's have another look. This is before your time, James. Stoya Bucharest. Aye, that was a terrible final. They had an excellent keeper though. Aye, they did that. Stoya, could you actually say that Stoya Bucharest are the worst ever European champions?
I don't know. Whenever I'm doing the sort of like quizzes where it's like name the Champions League winner, the teams always forget Stoya Bucharest and did Hamburg win one? I think
Hamburg won one. Yes,
I forget that one as well.
Aye, Hamburg won one. Angela Tiro, thank you very much. Tell us how enthused you are about Moy then. Oh, he's going to the World Cup. Have you mentioned that? Brown Warrior comes in and says, Moy could well be a key signing, but Ange, should injuries fatigue kick in as the games mount up? I'm already been on here saying that I reckon Moy will get games in Europe for us. But what I've been really, really impressed about Aaron Moy in the games that I've seen him, and especially the one that I saw him in the flesh against Aberdeen, was his range of passing. I forgot how good his range of passing actually was. And especially against Aberdeen, he played 2 balls that actually made me applaud. I went, wow. And he seems to have something in his locker. Him and Atati have got that in their locker, where they can play balls where you just go, how did you manage to do that? What I was impressed about him on the games that he's came on with games that he's came on with Ross County as a sub, and also Kilmarnock as a sub, he's kept the game going. He's came on to do a job, and he's done that job. He looks like a consummate professional, and I think he's going to be a good signing for us. I really do. What I've seen, once he gets up to speed, I think he's got enough talent in his locker to anybody that had any doubts about him will be dismissed extremely soon over the next couple of months.
Yeah, I thought out of the sort of appearances Aaron Moy's made so far this season, I thought that the Kilmarnock game really stood out to me because everything seemed to be sort of flowing through him. When you're looking for someone to progress the play from the defence to the attack, because that's ultimately what's going to make the team. I thought he was really sharp. But the only sort of times where he maybe looked a bit off it was maybe some of the friendlies, but he was just in the door. He was just trying to get his fitness up. But since the season started, he's actually been playing against sort of the teams that we faced on the regular this season. I thought he hasn't really looked out of place. I thought he's looked really good. And I could maybe see, I think we know who our starting midfield is going to be, or at least I know who my starting midfield would be for the Champions League. But if maybe injuries happen or something, I could definitely see Aaron Moy getting a start.
I can see Aaron Moy getting a start. I mean, in the next couple of weeks, the start of September, we're playing 3 games a week, basically. And there is going to be, this is when the rotation's going to come in, when that squad starts getting stretched and we start picking up injuries, James. And for what I've seen from Moy so far, he's a better fit in that sort of coming on role than James McCarthy, because he looks far more mobile than James McCarthy, and he understands what Ange Postecoglou actually wants. And I think it's going to be an astute signing. I really do think it's going to be an astute signing. And people that are saying, oh, why Giakoumakis should have been playing on Sunday and things like that. I think we're going to see the rotation once the big stuff starts, once the Champions League starts. At the moment, and I says at the start of the season, I didn't think Ange had a first 11, but it looks like he has. It looks like he's got a first 11 in mind, and they've started the last couple of games, and he's very, very loath to change it. I'm sure the Stephen Welsh change wouldn't have happened if Stephen Welsh didn't have the virus, but I can't see any changes for the team that started on injury barn. I can't see any changes for the team that started at Kilmarnock. I reckon that team will start again on Sunday against Hearts.
Yeah, the only change, as I said, I would put Carl Starfelt back in the team, but as you were saying, as the fixture gets more congested, the players that everybody's sort of crying out to see, myself included, I want Abada to get a start, I want Giakoumakis to get a start. As the fixtures get more congested as they're up to the World Cup in December, there's going to be loads of opportunities for players that aren't really getting an opportunity to get an opportunity, but it's all about them just taking their chances. It
is about taking your chances when you actually get it. Strangelove the doctor comes back and he talks about Moy. Reminds me of Deschamps for the French national team. He reads what is required by the team really well, and maybe that's what we're needing. Maybe that's what we're actually needing at times. Let's have a wee look.
You just can't be a bold midfielder moving the play for defence in the attack, can you? Can he beat it?
No, you can't beat it. Monty, hiya Monty, how are you getting on? I've seen nothing in or from Idaguchi. Those who claim that Idaguchi is a player based on what? I based that on Colin Watt putting me on the spot on a podcast, and I says Idaguchi would be a fantastic player for us. Pre-season, I thought it was a bit unusual to see him playing further forward because we were told he's a defensive midfielder. Then a couple of times Ange went to a double pivot. I think that's what it's called in the game when he played 2 sitting midfielders, and Idaguchi dropped alongside James McCarthy. My get-out clause with Idaguchi, because he didn't look too good in pre-season at certain times, my get-out clause was I wanted to see him with the decent players. I wanted to see him with the first team midfield round about him. And that's the hill I'm going to die on, James. I still want to see him with the first team players round about him. But I think it's interesting that Ange went to a double pivot in the pre-season games.
Yeah, I think Idaguchi's just been one of the most unlucky players in the squad. Any time there's sort of been a period where it looks like, oh, he could get a chance here. But when he first came in, he got injured in basically his first appearance against Alloa Athletics, a shocking tackle. Then in pre-season, he's getting a couple of starts, getting a couple of opportunities, bang, another injury. Comes back to training, injured again in training. He just can't seem to catch a break, and you can't really judge a player when any time it looks like he's going to get a chance. So on injury harms, I don't even know if we're going to get a chance to judge Idaguchi at this stage. It just seems like injury after injury after injury.
It does. He seems to have been unlucky, and I don't think there's any word when he's coming back either. Andrew comes in. Thank you for your comment, Andrew. I've seen Idaguchi for Japan, and in Japan there's football outside Scotland. What's your thoughts on Ideguchi then, Andrew? If we come in and you've seen him, as James says, we've only got a small window to actually see him. So do you think that he's got the attributes to contribute to the Celtic team? What you've actually seen in this Celtic team this season? What was your thoughts, James, on PSV getting shown around Celtic Park? No, I think there was mischief making with these headlines when you actually read who was shown around Celtic Park.
This is the first I've heard it. Wait, what is this?
Right, there was a couple of headlines by the mainstream media and also fan media that Celtic gave PSV the VIP treatment, and they were shown around Celtic Park by Jan Venegura Hesselink, who obviously has a Hesselink to both clubs. I'm laughing at my own joke there. Sorry. That was a right dad joke, that, man. Anyway, right, so they were getting shown on Celtic Park with Van Venegura Hesselink. And basically, the headlines were that we were given PSV the VIP treatment. It turns out we were given the VIP treatment to the corporate guests who were travelling with PSV to the game at Ibrox last night. We weren't again VIP treatment to the team. We were giving them the suits. So basically, we were showing the suits, we were showing the PSV suits, the trophy room, and giving them a steak pie in the captain's lounge. That was it. It was a non-story. But
a couple of suit men in the Kerrydale suite, a couple of steak pies. Nothing more than that. I'd hope it wasn't sort of letting them train, because I've always sort of slated whenever Rangers have sort of opened their training ground doors for a Celtic European opponent, oh, come train here. I've always thought it is really, really sort of childish and petty. So I would hope Celtic wouldn't do something like that for Rangers. It's just giving the execs a wee tour.
That's all it was. It was just giving the execs a tour round about Celtic Park. It wasn't the team won the train or anything like that, but the way it was built up, and even some Celtic fan media built it up, going, this is a great thing. I'm going, well, no, they're just showing some rich Dutch football fans round about a stadium and giving them a steak pie. It's a non-story. I can't believe, it's a non-story. I can't believe that folk were actually making a big deal about it. I like Jan Venegura Hesselink. I mean, you're talking about a guy, when we sign a guy now that scored over 20 goals in the Champions League, could we get a player now that scored over 20 goals in the Champions League to come to Celtic in his prime years, like we got Jan Venegura Hesselink?
I don't know. No chance. I'm trying to think how many Champions League goals Ross Barkley might have, because I can't have been linked to him quite a bit. But nah, it's just we've got to shop in very shrewd markets nowadays. Just how much football's changed.
For £3 million as well, James. We got a player who had scored over 20 goals in the Champions League for £3 million. The Dutch side.
How much the times have changed ever since. Well, it was the Ronaldo transfer to Real Madrid was the big catalyst. But then when Neymar went to PSG, that's the one that I always go back to for about 200 million. And they signed Mbappe for 200 million in the same summer. That's when football really became monopolised, if it wasn't already.
Aye, you're right there, eh? But I just always find that quite bizarre that we got a guy who had scored so many Champions League goals for £3 million. He was a bit injury prone, the big fella, but he scored quite a few important goals for us in Europe as well. And he bought into Celtic, eh? Let's have another look. Paddy Laverty comes in. Should Sky replace Boyd with Barry Ferguson? At least he was honest with Jota being the best in the SPFL. You could replace Chris Boyd with a sack of tatties and it would make more sense, James. I think Sky's coverage of Scottish football's horrible. I really do. It's I can't believe that we were actually talking to Sky again about extending the deal for 25 to 2029, is it? And there were some guys in Scottish football who were actually talking about that they want to increase the amount of money that is distributed by Scottish football for the current 28 million to 50 million by 2029. I think if they want, I can't believe that. I think there's absolute utter idiots run our game. And if they're no looking beyond Sky and they're no looking to streaming services, then I do not know what they're actually doing. We've got guys running our clubs, right? James, I'm going to put this to you. We've got guys running our clubs, right? Celtic Football Club have got over 46,000 season ticket holders. Maybe, 50,000. They've got over 50,000 season ticket holders. I think it's 54,000 season ticket holders Celtic have got. When they roll into town, no matter where it is, if you're a chairman of a football club where a club with 56,000 season ticket holders rolls into your stadium and there's empty seats, you're not doing your job right. Any club that's got 56,000 season ticket holders come to your stadium should be full. And if it's not full, then you're not doing your job right. And don't come to me and plead poverty and stuff like that if you can't do that. And for me, them just talking to Sky is just pure laziness. Are they underselling the Scottish game? Maybe the Scottish game's rubbish. You look at games on plastic pitches. You look at games where there's empty seats everywhere. Scottish football's not a very good sell, but it's about time that we started helping ourselves. And I don't believe these idiot chairmen want to actually help themselves, James. And when you see stories like this coming out time and time again, it just makes me fuming that these guys have got the keys to the Scottish game, eh?
Yeah, it's a sort of inferiority complex. The game has been marketed as rubbish. You just got to look at the amount of sort of gaffes and errors you see on Sky Sports every single week. BT had minimalist sort of access to Scottish football to put it on their programming, and they still done more effort to sort of promote Scottish football than Sky did. They had the SPFL talk show with Chris Sutton, Ali McCoist and Darryl Curry, and that was for just an hour a week. That done more for Scottish football alone than anything Sky have done in the last 10 years. And I'm just going to bring this to you here. We're just on the subject of TV revenue. The Norwegian top flight, the Norwegian Elite Serie N, they've got a new TV deal running from 2023 to 2028. Guess how much that's worth per year?
Is it no?
£64.5 million per year. And Scottish football is aiming to have 50 million by 2029. And the Norwegian League is getting 64.5 million a year. Scottish football, if you look at the attendances per capita at the weekend, I'm certain Scottish football is one of, if not the highest in Europe for sort of attendances when you compare it to the population. It's just, we just don't sell the game right. Oh, we should be pushing for more.
We should actually be pushing for more. And Ron Gordon, the Hibs chairman, in the article that I actually read, he went, we want our stadiums to be full, and the TV deal has got to reflect that. We didn't want TV to take away from fans coming through the door. We've got football clubs in Scotland who actively stop selling tickets to stop their stadiums be full, who make business decisions, which somebody wants to come and give them 33 quid. They go, no, I didn't want your money. So I think this is a false line. Telly will making every game available PPV or somewhere on a streaming service is going to hit attendances. I think that's a load of rubbish. And I'm talking about Celtic in this as well, and Celtic going a ticket exchange scheme for season ticket holders and stuff like that. No ground should have an empty seat in the stadium if you're doing your job right? And the 4,000 that go to watch Motherwell or whatever it is, if their game's available on PPV, that 4,000 season ticket holders are still going to go to the game, right? Yeah. Even though that Celtic game at Kilmarnock was on Sky at the weekend, Celtic still could have sold 8,000-9,000 tickets for that, no problem. And there still would have been guys standing outside the ground trying to get tickets for that game. This, it's a myth now that TV affects football attendances. It is an utter myth, and we need to get away from that. We need to get the streaming services up. Strange Love the Doctor, Amazon, Netflix, Apple TV, Disney, any of the platforms would show us. Any of them would actually show us. Amazon Prime would probably show us just as long as you actually bought Amazon Prime. I pay your 95 quid it is now.
Amazon's got a deal with the French league. I think it's you pay an extra £4 a month, £5 a month, something like that. You get all the games, sort of like a catalogue of all the games across the season. If Scottish football had something like that, everybody would buy it. And it's not as if people would stop going to the games either. Just as you said, the access to the games on a television or an armchair doesn't affect the people going to the stadiums.
No, it doesn't. No anymore. But that's all. That was the excuse they used in the 1960s and the 1970s. The world has changed since then, and the 3 p.m. blackout is absolutely wrong as well. I mean, it is absolutely wrong. It's outdated. It's an outdated notion now. The 3 p.m. blackout. If you're going to go to the game, if you've got the money to go to the game, and if you can get a ticket for that game, you're going to that game. You're not going to go, I'm just going to sit and watch it on the telly. That doesn't happen anymore, and we need to get like out of that. I mean, I've got a big massive crutch about the price of tickets, right? But if somebody's willing to pay £33 to go and watch a game of football, they're going to pay £33 to go and watch a game of football, regardless if it's on the telly or not, James. And that's what we need to actually start thinking, and that's what like the guys who run the game have got to start thinking as well. We've got to do the best for Scottish football, and also, James, the best for Scottish football is a fairer distribution of the little money that we do get. I'm going to go a socialist here and go like that. Celtic and Rangers have got the biggest fan base, but what we should actually do as well, the champions shouldn't get any more telly money than the team that finishes bottom. All money, all sponsorship money that comes into Scottish football should be redistributed as equal. It shouldn't go in the size of the clubs. Celtic will make more money than Ross County. Celtic will make more money than Hearts. Celtic will make more money than Rangers. Celtic will make more money than Hibs because we've got the biggest support. We shouldn't be skimming a larger percentage of the telly money just because we're the biggest club.
I know the amount of money is totally different in the Premier League, but how do they do it? Do they sort it by sort of where you finish? Is that the share of the sort of TV revenue you get, or is that sort of even split up down there?
Oh no, that's they changed it. There used to be a fairer split, but now the so-called top six have sort of adjusted the money as well. But we're a smaller pool, James. I mean, Hamilton, for example, St Johnstone getting a larger share of the telly money means far more to them than Norwich getting a larger share of the telly money, right? We've also got the fans of the Weir clubs moaning about the 5 sub rule, right? Well, the way I look at it, I go that. Well, if your chairman Stolpat's and noting tickets back, get more money into your club, you would have decent players to have 5 subs. You would have a decent coach. You would have decent youth set up to have 5 subs as well. I mean, it's going to benefit Celtic at the moment, right? But if Celtic agreed and Rangers agreed, right, we'll distribute the sponsor money that we've got more fairly over the whole of the Scottish game or to the top flight, then these clubs would have enough money to actually get what they would call 5 decent subs.
Would you not say that if you were to split the money sort of by position, would you not say that gives the teams the incentive to sort of be better, the incentive to try and improve their club rather than, we're going to get the money anyway, let's just... If you're going to have teams that have an incentive to do better, sure you would maybe want that. It might not lead to a fairer game, but it might lead to sort of more competition, a bit more of a fire at the game.
I'm sorry, mate. I'm just having a look. Paul, can you explain this? That's very demotivating, Kevin. It's not social, it's communism. I think it's just fairer, really, that the big clubs are still going to be big clubs and the little clubs still get the same amount of money for a product they contribute to. I think that
fair. You've just got to look at the Champions League. How many champions are in that nowadays?
Aye.
Football became monopolised years ago, and it's going to take way too much effort to sort of get back to the ways of old. It's too much about money nowadays to try and make it a fair game, I think.
When we try to sell a product, and I hate calling football a product, but it does get called a product, right? We're trying to sell a product, but the way that we sell it at the moment, we tell St Johnstone they're worth far, far less than Celtic, right? But they play the same game as Celtic. They play Celtic 4 times a season, but the way that your Sky deals and every deal that we structure at Scottish football and Scottish football is structured, we tell St Johnstone you're worth less than Celtic.
Would you not say
and that's not right? That isn't right.
St Johnstone are sitting back and accepting it though when they're giving Celtic majority of the stands when they're playing a home game. They're sitting back and letting us sort of make what should be an away game for us become a home game. They're basically just accepting that we're bigger than them.
They are accepting that we're bigger than them, but they're also making a decent business decision. Then they plead poverty. We haven't got the money to compete. Oh, by the way, but you're knocking back £500,000 in 4 games. Because as somebody did a star this comment? No, I can't remember who said it. Somebody actually says it's small man syndrome. I can't remember who it was. If you're in the comments, please let us know who says it was small man. It's small man syndrome that we're actually talking about. But then, as you say, as you say, clubs accept us. Clubs are accepting of this when they shouldn't be accepting of this. They should be in that room with Celtic and Rangers and go, no, we're just the same part of Scottish football as yous. And by the way, your free market stuff's still going to work because you've still got 40, 50,000 season ticket holders. You're still going to be able to outspend us. What you're actually just giving us is like going for a chippy tea compared to what yous are going to make, especially when you're talking about the Champions League. I mean, when somebody says the Champions League to me, the first thing I actually think about is money. I didn't think about wins. I didn't think about great nights. And it's the same, you see it with the Celtic support as well. The first thing they actually go about is, how much money are we going to make? Well, it doesn't matter how much money we're going to make. We're still not going to get 20 quid tickets. Celtic are likely to charge 50 quid a head for the Champions League games in the next couple of weeks. And they've already admitted that they're going to make 40 million pound or 20 odd million pound prize money. Celtic didn't need to charge 50 quid a ticket. They just did it to increase their profits.
Yeah.
That's all the Champions League for. The Champions League's just there to actually make money on players and for the fans. That's it.
Yeah, the Celtic sort of transfer policy in the last sort of 5-10 years reflected that. We're getting all this money for the Champions League, this much a gap over our sort of opponents, and then we didn't do anything with it. We just stuff it on in the back pocket and then we move on. But as you were saying, I'd love for football to be a fairer game. It would just lead to a more competitive and exciting league, but it's just football is too much a monopoly these days. You just got to look at the Ligue 1. PSG are bankrolled by a government regime, and they're going to steamroll that French league for years and years and years. The same in the Premier League. Manchester City, Newcastle have just been bought by Saudi Arabia. It's football. We're not getting any closer to a fair game, and it's only going to get worse.
It is going to get worse. I mean, the Champions League is one of the most one-sided competitions. The European Super League is going to happen. That is going to happen at one point. By hook or by crook, the European Super League is going to happen.
You think? I think it's going to be too much resistance. There's going to be the fans won't let it happen. I don't think. I
think you'll see a lot of FC United kicking up. I think the European Super League is going to happen, and everybody will say it's bad, but eventually they'll all buy into it. They will eventually. But I would rather kick about the Europa League, playing teams that you're going to have like that are not financially doped up to the eyeballs, basically, who are no like royal states, are no oil rich, that have no cash rips, that are no sports washing, that are no actually just like a front for fascist regimes. I would rather play real football clubs. I would. That's just my view, and everybody's probably saying, I bet you're going to be a hypocrite and go to the Champions League games, Kevin. I bet that's what they're actually saying. And I'll tell you just now that I'm not going to go to the Champions League games because I think Celtic are going to absolutely hammer us with the ticket prices for the Champions League game because they didn't have any qualifiers. That's just my opinion, but there you go. Folk can shout at me about that if all they want. Reggie J. Clough. I'm not going to read out your comment. I'm just going to let anybody read it. Well, mate, that kind of attitude died out in 1977, pal. So I'm just going to actually block you, pal, because that's a terrible thing to actually say. Jonathan Brown. Right, Jonathan, you've got a great point here. I'm going to put this to me and James. Kev, no one is interested in watching St Johnstone versus St Mirren on TV, hence why we get more money. I would counter-argue that by saying if St Johnstone against St Mirren had more money and better players, folk would be interested in watching it and they would get more folk through the gate. That's my counter.
They don't get promotion for Sky either. They won't show a game like that on telly. The only time you'll see a St Johnstone on the telly all season, if you're a casual fan, is when Celtic and Rangers come to town. Mm-hmm. You don't know what is going on in the rest of their season because you only see them playing Celtic and Rangers, where chances are they'll get hammered. So the TV sort of station, Sky, have got to do better to create interest in these teams. Don't just show them sort of 4 times a season.
Robert Gibson brings up that this seems to come around every couple of years about increasing the size of the top flight in Scotland. 16-team Premier League would be more of a revenue pool for the likes of Sky and Amazon, reason being more variety reaches more viewers. The problem that we've got just now, and I remember Neil Doncaster saying this, that any telly deal that he signs with Sky, they want a guaranteed 4 Celtic Rangers games. They want a guaranteed 4 Celtic Rangers games. I think the fact that Celtic and Rangers can play each other up to 7 times a season actually dilutes the fixture, and I would want to reduce it.
They tried to put a friendly on over in Australia, so that shows how much they're trying to sort of dilute the fixture. They're milking the Celtic Rangers cash cow for all they can.
Monty, I'm not ripping St Johnstone. It's just the first team that come into my brain when I'm actually having a look at a wee local side.
There's a commenter that pulled up, no us.
I don't know. I'm going to bring up this with Frank Kennedy. Me and Frank have a wee running battle every so often in the comments. It's all good fun though, all good nature, Frank. Who wants a Saudi Arabian owner running Celtic? Not me. We are in good hands with Dermot the Hermit in charge. I love that, Frank. Dermot the Hermit. That's brilliant. I wish we had more fan involvement in the running of Celtic, but there's no way in the world I want to be owned a front for a fascist sports washing regime. No way. That would be at the end of my days supporting Celtic if that ever happened. And it's sometimes better the devil that you know, and I would rather cunt be against and fight the cunt board than look at Newcastle. Newcastle are the perfect example for me. I didn't want that to happen to Celtic. And I don't think that will happen to Celtic. I don't think that will ever happen to Celtic unless we move into some sort of European league.
What do you think the sort of links we have with the City group now and Peter Law? Do you think the tighter those get and the closer the bond gets with Celtic and Man City loaning players out and all that sort of stuff, do you think maybe sort of 30 years down the line you would see Celtic in something like the City group? I hope to God we don't, because Celtic is Celtic. Celtic isn't part of anything. But could you potentially see Celtic being a part of something like the City group?
No, we're too big. Sometimes it doesn't sit well with me that we have a relationship with Man City, but then Airdrie seem to have a relationship with Celtic as well. The number of players that end up going to Airdrie and stuff like that. There is clubs that you've got a relationship with. if we ended up as part of the City Group and part of the City Group website, then it would be the end for me as well. It definitely would be the end for me. I think what we're actually doing at the moment is it's just contacts that we've got. It's the same way that Ange Postecoglou uses certain agents as well. I think that's all down to that. But as soon as it becomes any formalised deal, that's a different ballgame, James. You're into a whole brand new, it's a brand new world when it becomes formalised. I don't know, somebody in the comments will actually probably tell me that I don't think the City Group can own another club in Britain. I don't think they can because of the rules. But then, because if they did, I reckon they would have actually tried being out to actually buy a club in Scotland.
They've got teams everywhere. Teams in France, they've got Troyes in France, Girona in Spain, Melbourne City, New York City. They've got teams. They're trying to like conquer every single. They've got the Yokohama Marinos, where we got Anfield. They're actually trying to conquer every single continent of football.
Paulie, more for us. I love the Celtic fan base, but giving them more control and running the club would be madness. Bag of frogs on acid. I fully agree with that, but I still think that we still need a bigger say in certain decisions that the club make. Look, you can get 2 Celtic supporters on this podcast and they'll follow on things. I've been in supporters meetings and I've seen them falling out over. You can't get 2 Celtic supporters to agree on anything. The amount of Celtic supporter clubs that have been formed in the Stirling area because committees have fallen out and they've went and started their own buses is absolutely unbelievable. So Paulie has got a point there, James, but I think there is still a vehicle that Celtic should have a bigger fan voice in the running of the club.
Yeah, there should be a bigger voice. I'd agree with that, because we as fans think that we know best. We think our vision for the club is sort of what's going to make Celtic for the future. But there's so many sort of dividing opinions, as you were sort of commenting on earlier there. Would our fans sort of try to run the club be able to agree? It depends, because if you were to get sort of one supporter, there'd be certain supporters who would say that he's sort of off his rocker. What's this guy trying to do with the club? I don't think you would be able to get a certain sort of agreement. Would you want the fans going at other fans, or would you want just the fans pushing their frustration at just some random board member?
There is a way to do engagement, James. There is a way to do engagement and take fans' ideas on board. From my experience is Celtic's fan engagement was brilliant under Ronnie Dyler. They took on fans' ideas at that point. As soon as Brendan Rodgers turned up and they sold 56,000 season ticket holders, they sold 56,000 season tickets again, the corporate went through the roof. The engagement got less and less.
They saw the dollar signs in their eyes.
Yes.
And then everything changed.
Everything that you put to the board for a fan point of view, they then stick it through a money point of view. How is this going to make us money? And what you usually found when you put any ideas forward to the club, as long as it made them money, they were interested in it. They weren't really interested in anything else, but that's because the people on the board run it as a business, and that's why I think that they need better fan engagement. Where some fans have got the ability to run a football club, and people would say Peter Law was a fan. Did he have the ability to run a football club? Aye, he probably did. Did he run the football club like a fan? Answers on a postcard. Really, that's that there. So there is an argument, but I do think fans need a larger say in the whole game, truthfully. And I probably think it needs a regulator. I think the game does need a regulator, where it's not businessmen who are making decisions that are good for themselves. They need to come and oversee it. A bit like the MLS and the NFL. I think we actually need to have a look to America to have some sort of overall governing body which has got the interest of all clubs and not just a certain number of clubs. Owen McGrandle comes in. You could have a Glasgow Cup derby season opening every year, a couple of £1 million to the winner. I think the Glasgow Cup used to be quite big, James. I think there also used to be the Dryborough Cup as well, was a pre-season tournament. Paul Foley, Liam, two countries mentioned here, Norway and Germany, being better run. These countries are better run in every way, just not football. He actually hits that point well on the head. And Gaz comes in and tells me I was grossly exaggerating the skills and goals of Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink. He scored 6 European goals for PSV, not 20. I think it was maybe because his name was so long, Gaz, that I just thought he had maybe scored more.
A goal for each letter.
A goal for each letter, aye. Right, we've been on an hour, James. I ken that you've got to go to work and I've got to go back to work. Everybody, if you're down Leith Way tomorrow night, get along to State of Mind's charity gig for the Ronald McDonald House in Leith. I think there's a handful of tickets left. You're going to get, is it 15 bands or 12 bands for your 15 quid. It's going to be a great night. Unfortunately, I can't make it, and I'm actually gutted that I can't make it. Thanks to everybody I met at Dunfermline on Friday night. And there was quite a few viewers turned up to support State of Mind on Friday night, and thank you for all your support and the kind words that you had about my set as well. James, we went away down a rabbit hole today, and I had a bit of a rant, mate, but there we go. So thanks for your time, and I'll see you all next week. And remember, don't be bams to each other. See you later. Hail, hail.